Anyway, when you have an I on the bottom, I, if you look at the wall, is a square root. It's defined as a square root, and in the math world, they say you can't have an I on the bottom of a fraction. So what we have to do is we have to get rid of any i's, any imaginary numbers on the bottom of a fraction. So when we talk about division of complex numbers, what we're really talking about is we have to fix it so there's no I on the bottom. Okay, so what we have to do is change it, cheat in essence, change it so it doesn't have an I on the bottom. When there's just an imaginary number on the bottom, in other words, no complex number, this is a complex number, this is an imaginary number. When it's just an imaginary number, all you need to do is multiply by I, top and bottom. You have to multiply the top and bottom because you want to multiply by 1 because you don't want to change the value of what you're dealing with. When you multiply by 1, kids, the top, you distribute the I, and you get 3i plus 4i squared. And on the bottom, you get 5i squared. Well, I squared is negative 1. So the top becomes negative 4 plus 3i, because the negative 4 moves to the front now because it's the real part. And the bottom becomes negative 5. So you've eliminated the I off the bottom. You try this one. So in this case, we're going to want to multiply by I. On the top, we get 2i minus 9i squared. On the bottom, we get negative 4i squared, giving us a final answer of 9 plus 2i over 4.
So literally all you're doing is...
Here's where it gets a little more tricky. Now we have a complex number on the bottom. If we decide to just multiply by I, it's really not going to help us, because then you just get another I. So we have to have another strategy for getting rid of the I. And what we're going to do is we have to multiply by something called the conjugate. And the conjugate looks like this. Here's what I was talking about. If you multiply by I, as Morgan was saying, you just get another I. So that doesn't work. So what we're going to multiply by is the conjugate, which is the bottom, but with a different sign in the middle. Okay? That's the conjugate. The same thing that's on the bottom in the denominator, but with a different sign in the middle. This is when there's a complex number on the bottom as opposed to an imaginary number. So we're going to have to multiply two complex numbers together, so we have to do that distribution thing that we just learned. So on top we get 8 minus 14i minus 12i plus 21i squared. And on the bottom we get 16 minus 28i plus 28i minus 49i squared. Okay? And the more you multiply complex numbers, the better you get at it, and that becomes a quicker process. Now what you should notice, Tom, what do you notice?
Well, you see here, all those numbers are divisible by... Yeah, I give up.
Okay. On top, I get negative 13 minus 26i when I put all this together. This combines to make negative 26. You get 8 minus 21. We just practiced all that. And the top is negative 13 minus 26i. Here's your extra practice for multiplying complex numbers, children, that you were begging for. Okay. Now on the bottom, when I put the middle together, those two in yellow highlight, they cancel.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, you just could have fooled me. All right.
That's what I'm saying.
those cancel. And so all you're left with is 16 plus 49, which is 65, and you have gotten rid of the I on the bottom. Okay? So by multiplying by the conjugate, you get rid of the I at the bottom. There's only one thing left to do. What I call checking the triangle. You have to look at the three numbers and see if you can divide anything out of the three numbers. Those three numbers, we can divide out a 13. And so you need to divide it out. -1 minus 2i over 5. All three numbers are divisible by 13, so you can divide all three by 13.